I prayed only for time. You can imagine in 1945, April the 11th, I was in such a bad shape that I couldn't walk anymore. I was on a death march from Blechhammer all the way to Buchenwald. We went approximately 3,000 people. By the time we got to Buchenwald, there only was 750 people. The SS used to go behind and were killing them. Whoever fell down, couldn't walk, was shot. I was young. Then I was in concentration camp. I met a guy, a German. If the German SS knew that he was feeding me, he would have wound up in concentration camp, because there was no tolerance for a German when he went out of line. When a German went out of line, he was hanged in public to scare everybody. That means it was a police state. They were afraid of each other. You were afraid even to talk in front of your children, because accidentally children can say in school something, and the Gestapo can find out, the parents are taken away, and no one knows what happened to them. Well, in 1945, a miracle happened. I couldn't walk anymore. And if this would have taken another week, I was scheduled to be executed. On the 20th of April, the block where I was in, supposed to be executed in honor of Adolf Hitler. That was his birthday. But I was liberated on the 11th of April. You cannot imagine the feeling when they were screaming out, "The Yankees are there." And I didn't know what the Yankees were, because I never heard that word Yankee. When they came in, those kids, when I look back, 19, 20 years old boys came with guns in their hands with bayonets on the rifles. They were not kids, they were men. They were fighting, they were so dedicated. I was liberated on the 11th of April. You cannot imagine the feeling of being free, that I can go and eat. I prayed to God if I can only have a potato. You can imagine I was crying for hunger every day. And all of a sudden, everything was for me open. Well, then I got out of that camp. The first thing I wanted to see, look for my family. So I met this person, that told me one thing and then another thing, and you can believe everything what you hear, but you have to read everything between the lines. So I got myself a job for the UNRWA. Well, I used to be a good liar before, so I'm going to be a good liar now. The UNRWA, this was the United Nations Relief Organization, needed truck drivers. So I applied for it. So they asked me, how old are you? I was only 15. Well, I'm not going to tell them that I'm 15 years old. I told them I'm 20. So then I came there and I told them I'm 20 years old. The guy says to me, well, you got a job. So I got a job. And I drove a truck. You know how long I learned how to drive the truck? 15 minutes. And I became a truck driver. So I was supplying food for the camp, and then I was picking up refugees who were coming from the east zone of Germany. So what happened, I couldn't find my family. Somebody told me that my family they saw in Russia. But at that time, when we were already defeated Germany, Russia was still at war with Japan. So all the troops from Europe were transported on the Trans-Siberian train to Siberia, to Manchuria, because the Japanese were still in Manchuria there. I got on that train, and I traveled for about 3.5 weeks on that train. And I got as far the end station, that was Vladivostok. It is from Europe approximately, I would say, about 11 or 12 time zones. Russia is a big, big country. So I got there. I have never seen a Caucasian. I haven't seen a black person. That was all Chinese, Mongolians, Uzbeks, Kazakhs, all Oriental people. And all of a sudden I see a Caucasian sitting there with a Bible in his hand. So I walk up to this guy and I said to him, "Здравствуйте, как ты поживаешь?" And by the way, I learned very quick Russian to get along with the people. So he answers me in Russian, but I noticed that his accent was not a Russian. So all of a sudden dawned on me, he said, "Ты германец? Are you a Russian, a German?" He says, "Конечно." I said, "What are you doing here?" He says, "I just came out of Dachau from concentration camp. I'm a Jehovah's Witness." So he says to me, "You stay with me and I want you to go back to Europe." So I spent time just about a week with him. And this man had such an impact on me. And he said to me, I never forget it, "I will not convert you to Christianity, but I will convert you to humanity." You have no idea how powerful those words are. Because when I got out of concentration camp, let me tell you, to be honest with you, I was an animal. I could kill somebody like this, blink of an eye. Those didn't mean nothing to me. I slept with bodies all along, all these years. Dead people didn't bother me at all. I even became a cannibal too. So he was sitting with me and I took out a knife. Now that knife was not for cutting bread, but that knife was for cutting somebody's throat. So he made me to throw that knife away. So reluctantly I went and threw it away, but I didn't want to, but he said, "This knife is evil. If you need to cut bread, that little bread what we got, you can break it." So I was with it just about a week, and I went back to Europe.